Hello, everyone. This is the Static Site Editor Product and Design Focused Weekly Meeting. Shifted by a day because I was off yesterday. This is October 6th, and we'll jump right into what we were just chatting about, which is some takeaways from the Jamstack Conf. The virtual Jamstack Conf was today, or at least day one. There are workshops tomorrow. And Chad, you were talking about the performance talk. I don't know if you want to repeat any of that, but it did sound very interesting. I didn't get to attend that one though.
No, I think it's a good little conference in general. Everything's virtual nowadays, so this one is fun. The visual testing talk was really interesting. The things that Amplify, I think, was in the company. The things they can do are pretty amazing. And she was a really engaging speaker too.
That always helps. Yeah. Let's see. I did get to sit through one that was interesting about the way I think it was Teespring had architected themselves around a bunch of microservices and medium-sized services. They were talking about sort of the scale at which they were building that, and so I do recommend that. It was only slightly over my head as far as the actual architecture they built, but it was interesting to hear them present that and talk about how they came to that conclusion. I know they were all recorded too. I hope to go back and catch up. I did get sidetracked in the afternoon and wasn't able to watch as many as I wanted to, but I'm looking forward to catching up. And maybe we can have a Slack channel or something or I guess just in our social channel, or really any of our Static Site Editor channels would be appropriate to post these takeaways as we catch up on them.
They had a thread going in the quality channel, I think.
Cool.
Or I'll say the channel. I lost it. The marketing channel. Sorry.
Cool. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, overall, I thought it was well organized and put on smoothly. I think they addressed at the beginning that they took a little bit of the feedback from their other one earlier in the year and made things a little more focused and shorter sessions and things like that. And that helped a lot. Yeah, I mean, I think it's always interesting, and as we catch up, I'm sure we can talk more about any other key takeaways. Did you catch any other sessions?
There was between, I think, that the guy who owns or runs WordPress and one of the main people from Netlify, and it wasn't fluff. Like, they kind of got into it. So there was I think they didn't let them bash PHP, which was really interesting. So they definitely, everything else was on the table, and they got into it, and the moderator was really good.
Interesting. I had heard about that.
Debate.
Yeah, I was sad to have missed that one. I will absolutely go back and watch that. I was in the chat as they were kicking off. People were saying, "I'm just here for that. I just want to see that debate between WordPress and yeah."
I just went on Twitter to look at the hashtag to just follow on that thread.
Oh yeah. Nice. Okay, well, let's see here. Let's start with UX research today. I think, well, I don't know if Catherine or Michael put this one in, but we can talk about the solution validation for that's ongoing.
Yeah, so I put that one down. So that's started last week. ran 3 sessions so far, and so far it's good. I just realized that the one participant I was waiting upon for feedback no longer works at GitLab, so that's we probably need to find another person to fill in their shoes. If you know of anyone, let me know. Otherwise, I'll just ask product marketing or sales, probably sales, or yeah, or if you know of any other groups I should ask, because we've been pretty product marketing heavy so far. So yeah, that's ongoing. And I think there's one more session scheduled next week, and you're handling that one, Eric, for me, for us, I mean. And so yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's a good reminder. I probably have to reschedule that because it falls on Columbus Day, which I'm sure
Okay.
wasn't on your radar when you. I'm sure Columbus is
I
not
totally-
a major figure there, but
I totally forgot about it until today.
Yeah,
but
me
now
too.
there's a 4-day weekend for us US people.
Yes, for US people, it's a 4-day weekend. Let's try not to rub it in, but yeah. I'll probably just reach out and reschedule. It's not a big deal, but I'll try and do it on the Tuesday when we get back. But yeah, looking forward to running that. And I can't think of any individual in particular, but if I, come up with something before tomorrow morning, I'll ping you in Slack on somebody to reach out to. Otherwise, I think reaching out to sales would probably be good because, like you said, product marketing has been participating maybe disproportionately, which is great. We want their feedback, but might be good for variety. And let's talk about Think Big, which is scheduled for tomorrow. Coming out of our discussion last week, and this week feels like it has been a month. So yeah, we were just talking about that last week about scheduling Think Big sessions and monthly brainstorming. I did not get you an agenda until a few hours ago, and that was 2 lines in a doc. So we can just talk about how we think that should go. And my only idea was just putting out like one major opportunity or job to be done or some kind of prompt, and then letting us discuss in depth, just without too many constraints around it. I saw your feedback in Slack just to summarize about how we should present maybe some of the jobs to be done and summarize what a job to be done is, which is good. I think we should. I think what was holding me back from scheduling these before is getting too hung up on like formalized processes and terms and stuff and journey mapping and storyboarding and stuff like that. So if we abstract it a little bit, I don't know that we really even need to talk about jobs to be done in the sense that like this is the format and this is what a job to be done is. If we just say like users need to be able to do this, how does that look in GitLab? Not necessarily how do we solve for X, Y, and Z in the static site editor because we know it's on our backlog. But if we just say users need to be able to create and use content in multiple places, create reusable content that can be inserted in their pages, and that's the job to be done, then we can just have a discussion around that and brainstorm. But I'm open to more feedback on that or other ideas on how to run it.
Yeah, so I think for the sake of time and like lead up for this session, I think that's a good idea to like have one pre-selected. In the future, we'll probably should do some kind of voting across the group just to gauge everyone's understanding of where they think the problem space is, and then have a discussion around that, then to focus on certain areas. But yeah, I think where we're at right now, I think for the sake of discussion and getting the ball moving, focusing on one area and partials and includes is one area. Like it's almost like the job to be done is like get me to what I need to edit. And it's like the bigger job to be done, and that opens up another can of worms, as in like, oh, accessing the static site editor from the handbook, is it clear enough? Do we need to add another icon in there to the pop-up that Chad added a few months ago? Like, do we need to do that? Do we need to add stuff in the bottom? Do we need to kill the links at the bottom? Do we want to do that like jump to line thing? So I think all of these things kind of like contribute to that job to be done. All are potential solutions, but yes, let's run with this. For today, I'll probably like add some more points to that document, kind of give it some more structures and words, so that we have something to run off for the later tonight's session, or today's whatever tomorrow session. And yeah, we should just get started, and then we'll learn what works and what doesn't, and then we'll carry on from there. I haven't done a think big section, so maybe Kat, maybe do you have any like insights or guidance on what we should do in this scenario? Because you probably attended more think bigs than I have.
Actually, I haven't attended any. But I think what I'm hearing makes sense. I think there's, as long as you have a goal to orient around, that should be good. Like, for example, if the goal is to come up with things for a roadmap, or if the goal is to identify areas for improvement, like if there's just some kind of overarching goal that you can land on at the end and say, okay, these are the action items we'll take toward this goal, I think that would help. But otherwise, I'm not really sure how people run them so far.
Cool. Yeah. So with that in mind, I think this idea of focusing on one area and discussing about it should be enough for this session to flesh out some things.
Yeah, I agree. And for the record, I just added you. It might be a little early for you, Catherine, but I just added you as optional for tomorrow. Sorry, I didn't put you. I should just by default include you. We're going to try and do these monthly though. So if you can't make it tomorrow, please join the next one. You're always welcome. I think the outcomes for me is probably closer to the like, backlog issue creation, populating a backlog of these ideas so that we can start to formulate them into more clear issues, and then take them and get them through the design process and validation and everything. So I think with that goal in mind, even if it's just our first stab at it and only a couple concrete issues come from it, I think that would still be a success. And to your point earlier, Michael, about getting a shared understanding of like the problem space, I think that's definitely one that we should plan for, and one that I had hoped would be our first one, and what was the stumbling block for me was trying to wrap my head around how we were going to do that in a timely manner. But having a way to do a sort of a macro level problem space brainstorm would be a great candidate for one later on when we have a little more time to plan. Cool. So I'll try and go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, apparently there's a handbook page on Think Big sessions, and from what I see, they suggest doing like research review, epic review. So basically, there's the goal of getting on the same page about the goals and kind of your purpose, their stage group vision. But then there are also things you've probably already learned from research, especially a lot of the solution validation. So I think those would be things to discuss as well. So like from the research already conducted, what were some recurring themes that have come up, or what are some things that are unfinished in terms of the flow, things we can iterate on. I think those also have place in the deep big. But I'll link this random page that I found about it. Maybe you've seen it already. Okay, it's there.
I just put it. I found that today by accident, and I was working on a different area of the handbook, and I saw it, and yeah, it's slightly different approach than I think we were planning, but I think we're pretty close. For the sake of time, we should address that the static site editor is going to be assuming the responsibilities for taking work on the settings, the GitLab settings and global navigation, secondary navigation, and breadcrumbs, and just generally improving the user experience around there. We'll be balancing the work against our existing roadmap for the static site editor, so we'll continue to be working on that as well. I can, yeah, Michael, do you have a specific question around that work in the design section, or did you just want to address it?
It was just more like, this is what's on track. It's just absorbing and like meeting with people, and yeah, just absorbing until we need to like start making moves. At least I know where I'm coming in from. And Kat helped out with understanding the past research, so I'm gonna upload that to YouTube later and share it out with the group.
Excellent. That would be helpful. Thank you. Yeah, I'm digging into poorly timed vacation, so I feel a little behind already, but I'm digging in, and I think the best approach would probably be to schedule a separate, maybe weekly or bi-weekly sync, so that we're not trying to accomplish too many things with one weekly stand-up. But I'll think through the format on that, and we can talk about it in Slack and whatnot. But Chad, you had a follow-up in the UX research about this, so did you want
to? Sure.
Yeah.
I showed up at the research hours last week, and Jeff and Catherine were there, and it was a really good talk. We started on the settings and nav stuff, but we got into lots of other things. Catherine showed her fascinating history of the evolution of the GitLab navigations. It's always interesting to see these things that like go back years and what the app used to look like.
Yeah, and I don't know, Eric, how much context you have around everything, but one thing that I think all of us are kind of wondering is, what's the container? Like, there's the epic that contains like the priorities, but it's like, what's the box? Not the time box, you know what I mean? It kind of seems like it could be a huge project that goes on forever, or it could be a very short-term goal. I think that has been one of the biggest questions that I've seen across the board.
Had a really long discussion on exactly that topic this morning.
We did, and it's one I'm hoping to get answers for soon. I think we're partially, or I am partially DRI for making that decision and determining that. I will obviously be asking for input and absorbing all this existing research so I can form that opinion. I think the political, like, turn it back around on you non-answer would be, it is something that we're always going to be working on. We, being GitLab, should never just like say we're going to spend 8 months on a navigation bar and then ship it and be done. That's not how we work. It's not how anybody really should work. it's going to be something where we as a team, the static site editor group, will help define some clear iterative releases that we can achieve based on research that we think will result in measurable outcomes. But I don't think right now there's a tendency to revamp everything and do a broad sweeping change to the navigation. Although that's my instinct as a former designer, and I would just want to start over and rethink everything. I don't think that's the best approach right now. And I need to dig through the existing issues a little more and the research and get a better sense, but you'll be able to help me there. And as I dig in, I'll certainly let you know in Slack or in the issues if I have any questions.
Yeah, that makes sense. I would just say there are certain things where there will be a lot of research kind of more upfront, because one other big thing is the effort to create baselines and things you can measure success from. So there will be a lot of research on certain fronts, but there are a couple areas that I think can be worked on more immediately. And I guess that's where I'm wondering if those have been kind of teased apart, like for what's going to happen for research, what's happening for the engineers, what's happening for the designers. But hey, I think that's what we'll figure out together.
Yeah, and that's going to be my goal this week, and probably because it's a short weekend into next, and I'll just try and figure out what are those things that are low-hanging fruit, that are well researched and well understood, that we can pick up relatively soon. Do they get in the way of this baseline measurement at all, and how quickly can we get that baseline measurement in place, and then how quickly can we get additional research where necessary to fill in the gaps on the issues that might be a little less well-defined.
Yes, I'm happy to talk with you about it whenever you're kind of in the throes of it, because there is a lot there. There's a lot. It has haunted me for years. There are
a great start.
Layers to it.
There are. No, I have about 8 people that I need to schedule coffee chats, and you're on the list to kind of catch up and figure out like what's already been accomplished. Where do these people think we should be focusing our efforts, and then I'll try and just synthesize that. So expect an invite probably soon.
I'm touched.
Yeah. You're in the top 10.
I've made the list. This is an honor. Okay, that sounds good.
And just for the record, we have an MR out now for updating the direction page, so that we are formally the DRI. The group is formally the DRI. So we're passing that around for review. I guess it'll probably be merged tomorrow.
Awesome.
And nothing else on the agenda. Anything anybody else wants to add before I stop the recording?
Nope.
Cool. All right. Thanks everyone watching.